Hello, everyone. Welcome to Book Club with Peaceful Nik. Today we are on chapter 9 out of 10 of A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. Incredible book. I'm glad you've been here on this journey with me. I have read this book so many times and I always learn 100 new things every time I read it. I'm always grateful to my niece Mandy, who gave me this book in 2014. Thank you for being here. Let me add my Facebook page over here. It always makes me erase a bunch of stuff on here. I'm thankful, to my niece Mandy, who bought me this book in 2014, and grateful that she's on a wonderful journey of her own now. Hi, Vivian. Hi, Glenda. Hello, everyone. Everyone say hello when you pop in. All right, so chapter 9 is called Your Inner Purpose. And I want to make a couple of announcements first before we get started. Please put any comments or questions about the chapter in the chat. Hi, Holly. Hi, everyone. Okay, I'm making donations to the following organizations: Feeding America, Toys for Tots, and Help a Diabetic Child. I've raised over $300 so far, and I'm so excited. I will send this round of donations. I'll do it again in December. I'll send this round of donations in probably the end of next week before the Thanksgiving holiday. And then I'll do another round of donations through December till right before Christmas. If you want to donate directly to the organizations, their links are in the show notes on my YouTube channel if you're watching on Facebook. Or otherwise, this QR code you see, it's in one of the corners. It's flip-flops from flip-flops. You can donate directly to my Venmo or PayPal, and I will send the money. I'm going to just divide it evenly to all three organizations and send the money straight in. And I will make a video and screenshot and all that stuff so everybody can see what I donated. I also have my $11 3-card email tarot reading. So please sign up for that if you just need a daily message or a weekly or a monthly message. It's a great way to get some questions answered. Hi, Gina. Welcome, welcome. All of my one-on-one readings booked by November 30th are buy one, get one free. So you can save the reading and have 2 readings, or you can gift the reading to a loved one. So those are my brief announcements. Also, my wonderful podcast co-host, Lady Shadow, and I had on the wonderful Aunt Jen today on our podcast that was released this morning, all about self-love and the self-love journey. There's amazing information in that podcast, so please watch it here on YouTube and everywhere podcasts are found. So if you're struggling with self-love, healing, any kind of trauma or dysfunction in your life that you're trying to work through, especially now through the holidays, because holidays trigger us. And Lady Shadow and I are going to have Boundary Day on November 21st, where we all gather for a live. We'll probably have some guests joining us. And we're going to be just having kind of like a Friendsgiving, but it's going to be a boundary day for people to discuss why they don't want to go spend time with their family or why they feel forced to. Vivian said, love your podcast, made me feel like I'm finally home. Vivian, you are such a pleasure to have in my life. I cannot tell you. It's so funny. I'm going to cry. I'll get hormonal. I was getting ready to send Vivian a message today at, I think it was 4:46 or 5:46 my time, something like that. And I picked up my phone and she had texted me at the exact moment I was about to text her. So Spirit is wonderful. And I love that connection. Lori, good evening. Nik Penguin Blue Waving Tear. Okay, that must be an emoji that it wrote out. That's funny. All right, so here we go. Chapter 9. Oh, also, I will be live for my regular live after this. So I will be live pulling cards and giving messages. Yeah, Vivian, I know, because I was literally about to text you at the second you texted me, like literally at that second. That's why I answered. I'm like, oh my God, it was so crazy. It was so crazy. You sent that energy out and I picked it up. That's how it works, right? Wonderful, wonderful. So I will be live for my regular normal live stream after this. I have it scheduled for 8:15, but if this is short, I might go on a little earlier. So, all right. Usually the book club, this is kind of a weird time for it because it's 4 Pacific, but anywho, all right. A New Earth, Chapter 9, Your Inner Purpose. So we need to talk about what's the difference between our inner and outer purpose. And the next book we are going to read is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. We'll start this not Thanksgiving week, probably the week after Thanksgiving. And I was doing some cleaning today because I have family coming for the holidays, so I'm kind of rearranging some things. And I found this mini Four Agreements book that I got years ago at a bookstore. And it's just like a mini little Four Agreements book. And it's like, got a little, it smells so good because I had it with my essential oils. It's got a little bookmark. And I'm just so thrilled that I found this, especially because we're about to do it. And I'm like, I cannot believe I have so many little goodies. It's like finding a present for myself. And then I found this awesome little journal, this little leather bound journal. I couldn't even tell you where I got it. I don't even know. I don't know if I bought it or somebody gave it to me, but it's like super cute. I'm like, I gave myself 2 presents today. But I've had them all along. So I love that. And speaking of that, when you buy gifts this year, if you're a person who buys gifts for the holidays, please, like these would be a great gift. Like you give this to somebody in a little basket you get at a secondhand store with, you know, some little trinkets or whatever, something beautiful, right? Some little, you know, a little lotus flower, put it in a nice bowl with a bowl, right? There's this creator I follow who, goes to secondhand stores and she'll get like a recipe book and a set of glasses and saucers and a big, beautiful basket and put a big bow. And so it's like she's repurposing things that people gave to a secondhand store, a Goodwill, whatever. And the reports are these secondhand stores are overflowing because so many people have so much stuff that they don't need. They're just giving it all away. Oh, it's just easy to give it away. They can't keep up with their inventory. And so please, if you are on a budget and there are ways to repurpose things and purchase things at secondhand stores without spending a lot of money. And there are beautiful things. You just have to take the time and effort to go and make them look beautiful. Get some ribbon, you know, pay for some ribbon at Michael's or something, and then put the ribbon around these beautiful things. Just please for the sake of the world. Okay. Your inner purpose. You have an inner purpose versus an outer purpose. What does that mean? Holly said, I call your little present findings glimmers. I was so happy to find those things. I was so happy. So happy. Okay, so inner versus outer purpose. What is that? Everyone has the inner purpose to awaken, right? Our inner purpose is to awaken. The spiritual journey we go on, whether you call it that or not, is an awakening. And your outer purpose is what you do in the world. Your inner purpose of awakening should be your primary purpose. Now, we don't know this until somebody teaches us this. These are just things that Eckhart Tolle put words to that we may instinctually know, but we never thought to put words to it. Your inner purpose is primary. Your inner purpose is to awaken and see the totality of what is meaningful. Buying a Lamborghini and a yacht, not really meaningful unless you're a person who has a very big ego living in a three-dimensional world and thinks that's important to impress people. What impresses me personally is someone who is kind and authentic and can be being who they truly are and thoughtful. Thoughtfulness gets overlooked a lot of times, especially in relationships where maybe you've been friends for a long time, or you've been in a partnership for a long time, or you know, you have family members that you spend a lot of time with. They forget to be thoughtful. Think of me first before you speak. Think of me before, if you do want to buy a present for somebody, think about them. This is actually something I'm working on because I've been a notoriously terrible present buyer. Not terrible, but I've been busy in my life and I didn't take the time to be thoughtful in some of my gift giving in the past. So our inner purpose versus our outer purpose. Vivian said, chapter resonated with my life. I have a great career since I was 20. Love what I do. Always gave my presences. Promotions came easily. Grateful, but my soul was always restless and unfulfilled. Yeah, right? And I think so many people feel that way. So many people feel that way. I worked in retail management before I became a teacher, but between retail management and teaching, I worked for a dermatologist for a couple of years. And I just wasn't into it. Like, I thought when I got my biology degree, I would want to be a famous lab person who worked in a lab. And I worked in a lab and I did not enjoy it. It did not fulfill me. It did not make me happy. I was bored because it was very repetitive work. And unless you have a PhD, which I didn't at the time, I don't have one now, but unless you have a PhD, lab work is pretty much, routine crap. That's boring, where I was anyway. So then I was a teacher. And the first few years I was a teacher, I felt very fulfilled. I thought, this is it. This is my purpose. I'm so happy. And then over time it changed. And then my mediumship kicked in and I have a totally different life. So anyway, you just never know where this life is going to lead you. So your inner purpose is to awaken and understand the true nature of everyone is their soul, to put up boundaries, to understand that if you have relationships with people, you can understand why they behave the way they do. But that doesn't mean you have to accept their behavior. And that doesn't mean you have to allow them to behave poorly towards you. Right? You can awaken enough to understand them, but not allow them to walk all over you. Lori said, this resonates with me. People always ask, what do you want for a gift? I have to tell you, don't bother. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I get it. If I have to tell you, don't bother. I don't accept gifts well. That's another story for another day. I'm not a good receiver of gifts. But I am working very hard on being conscientious of gift giving now that my kids are grown and out of the house, and I'm trying to really hard to be more thoughtful about it. Not that I was giving terrible gifts, like I said before, but they were basic. Let's just say they were basic. They were basic, right? They weren't meaningful. Now, both my daughters-in-law, best gift givers I've ever known. Like, I'm like, what is they're so thoughtful. It's incredible. I'm so happy for them. Gina said, last year I was given hand towels as a gift. I was so confused. That's a confusing gift. I'd be confused too. That's a confusing one. And sometimes there's been a relative by marriage, I'll say, who I've specifically told over the many years I've known this person, this is the type of thing I like. I don't like sweaters. This has come up in many conversations for many years. I don't like sweaters because I'm a very hot type of person. I'm hot all the time. And every year for over 20 years, guess what I got for a present from that person? A sweater. Even though I lived in a very hot place for a very long time. I'm like, oh, you're just buying what's on the sale rack so you can put something in a box. So anyway, but my inner purpose is to awaken and understand why she did it and not judge her for it. Toilet paper, perfect gift for everyone. Exactly. Everybody can use it. Debbie. Hi, Debbie. Welcome, welcome. I love giving gifts. My dream job is the job Santa has. Oh, that sounds awesome. I don't know. It sounds tiring. It sounds tiring. What is the point if you don't consider the person? Don't go through the motions. Right. And so that is really common. Just like when somebody sends out gift cards to everybody, it takes 5 seconds. I like to make gifts. I give a lot of paintings as gifts that so I'm going to take back what I said earlier. I paint specific paintings for specific people in my life, and I paint it for them purposefully with a lot of love. And painting a painting, let's say, see this lotus flower painting? That probably took minimum of 15 hours, maybe 20 hours to paint. And so I give gifts that take many hours, half of a work week to paint. And so if you think about someone's salary and you take the time of half of a work week to make a painting, and this is not the most incredible painting in the world. It's nice, it's pretty, but I can take 15 to 20 hours to paint a painting like that. It doesn't look like a famous painting or whatever, but if you calculate the amount of salary somebody makes for half a work week, and you think that is the time and effort I took for that. So Gina said I would rather where'd it go? I would rather have been gifted toilet paper than hand towels. Hi, Carol. Welcome, welcome. Gina said I used to make gifts too. I made pants, skirts, and hats. Yeah, I used to make a lot of handmade gifts. I completely forgot about that because I'm getting old. I'm going to be 55 next month. A crafted gift made for someone comes from the heart. It is incredibly thoughtful. Okay, thank you. So I completely forgot I did that. I downplay it, I guess. I don't know. All right, so your inner purpose, inner versus outer, we covered. All right, the next bullet point on my list, because everybody knows I got bullet points, is the primary purpose of our lives is to come to a place of being present in every moment. So there's a little trick that I learned in this book. And so I've used this example before. You may or may not have heard it. Let's say you're in the grocery store and you're in a hurry and you're impatient and you're like, kind of like, come on, I got to get out of here. I got stuff to do and blah, blah, blah. And the line is moving really slow. And then they turn the blinking light on and they're waiting for a manager. And then the lady writes a check. And then the kids behind you are screaming and throwing Cheerios. And you're just like kind of losing it a little. So what I learned in this book is be present. I just say, be present, be present, be present, be present. And I just focus on my breath and I go into the present moment and the situation tends to resolve itself. Oh, Carol said your paintings give away special energy. Vivi tells me her hazel painting makes her feel love. I put a lot of love in my paintings, Carol. That makes me so happy. Oh, that's going to make me cry. I appreciate that. I'm having another little granddaughter. Did I tell you that, Carol? I don't know if we've talked because you haven't been feeling good. I hope you feel all better, by the way. So our primary purpose is present. When you're in the present moment, that is where you should be living. If you're living in the past, you have depression. If you're living in the future, you have anxiety. A lot of people have anxiety and depression. You've heard that before, I'm sure. And you medicate people for this. Now, there is clinical depression and anxiety disorder. Absolutely, some people should be medicated. I am not a doctor, but some normal people without these clinical diagnoses can bring themselves into the present moment. And that is where we want to be, because we don't want to be in the past or future, because we should be here and now. Yay. Thank you, Carol. All right. Our outer purpose can change throughout life. Like I was just saying, I worked in retail management. I worked for a dermatologist, and then I became a teacher. Now I'm a medium. So I've had essentially 4 major periods of my life where I had a different career, very different career. Retail management, dermatology lab, teacher, mediumship. I still work in science education and communication. So I kind of overlap those two, but your outer purpose can change, but your inner purpose is always awakening, becoming less binocular, monocular, and more zoom out, like you're floating above the earth and looking at everything happening at once. There's this syndrome, and I can't remember the name of it. If somebody wants to Google it and put it in the chat for me. When astronauts go to the space station, it changes something in them and their outlook, because they see the earth as a whole and there's no borders written on the ground from space. It's not a globe like you see in a classroom. It is the earth as a full sphere. Something over syndrome, flyover syndrome, something. If somebody could Google it, what are astronauts? I don't even know how to put it in the Google machine. But anyway, they see things from a bigger perspective. And again, I'll say The Pale Blue Dot by Carl Sagan. Go listen to his words, because we need to zoom out and look at the bigger picture of everything. Because when we think small and we see small little pieces of things and we ruminate on them, it's not the best. If it's not going to matter in 5 years, don't worry about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, of course, if somebody broke their arm, you have to take them to get a cast, right? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a silly disagreement you had with your neighbor, right? Just something stupid. Like your snowman blew over on my fence. Okay, fix it and say you're sorry and don't let it happen again if you can help it. That's not going to matter in 5 years. You shouldn't worry about that over and over and over and think about it. Over viewer effect. I think that's right. I think that's right. I think it's very close to that, if not exactly that. Lori said, is this the realization that everything and everyone is connected and makes us whole? Yes, 100%. Yes, exactly what I'm saying. Yep, yep. And that's part of my awakening through this book, which was 11 years, almost 12 years ago now, I got this book. And had my first mediumship experience almost 7 years ago and became a full-time medium or a professional medium 6 years ago. And wow, I'm just calculating the time. It's just going so fast. It's the realization that everything is connected. I kind of always had this underlying feeling of that, read this book and really felt it. Then, got my master's degree in astronomy through all this time, blah, blah, blah. And like, whoa. And then became a medium and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, exactly. Everything is connected. All of our souls. What affects the trees in the Amazon rainforest affects someone in China. Just like the winds that blow off of Africa blow across the ocean to South America and fertilize the ground there. Like everything is connected. Our souls are connected. Our earth is an entire ecosystem. Yes, everything is connected. Lori said, I think I've had this book longer and it just didn't make sense. And now it seems intuitive. Oh, yes, yes, yes. And in the book, it says, in the beginning, somewhere in the first couple of chapters, he says, if it doesn't make sense to you now, it might make sense to you later. You don't have to read it now. Just pick it up later. You'll pick it up when you're ready. And I've had several clients I've recommended this book to, where I'm doing a reading and they're like, oh, I have that book in my dresser drawer or in my closet. I'm like, well, get it out and read it. See if it resonates. So, it's amazing. It's a life changer. Okay. Our outer purpose can change throughout life. Our awakening happens through action. So when you become more present in your actions and you're not worried about the past or the future, then you become more present. You become more empowered just by the sheer fact of being present and in the moment. There's a sense of flow. And it reduces stress. It reduces the struggle. It makes you not feel like you're swimming upstream anymore. It becomes much more, your life becomes much more calm and settled and content and not as apt to be emotionally dysregulated. And I can tell you, as a fiery Sagittarius sun, Sagittarius rising, and Aries moon, I've been emotionally dysregulated many times in my life. But I don't know if it's getting older, the awakening, or some combination of events, but I am much less likely to get dysregulated than I've ever been in my life. I must have peace and calm And I think part of this is in my mediumship journey as well. Because I'm much more in the present moment than I used to be. Now, I'm not always in the present moment. I'm not saying that I follow this book to the letter of the law and I'm a perfectly peaceful, awakened person. I am still very human in many ways. So Eckhart Tolle told us a funny story. He was being interviewed and someone came up to him in a coffee shop and said, "You drink coffee?" And he was shocked by the question. They're like, "Yeah." He goes, "Yes." And they're like, "Why do you drink coffee?" Because there are some people who just are super opposed to coffee during an awakening. And he's like, "Because I enjoy it." And I'm like, yeah, sometimes we can go too far with our awakening rules and regulations, which becomes very dogmatic, like a religion. And an awakening is very much the opposite of religion. An awakening is a welcoming of all positive, loving belief systems, and shouldn't be dogmatic. So some people are so used to rules and guidelines, like, you got to do it this way. It's like, if we all just get in the flow, together, we're not going to have to worry about rules and regulations because we're all going to be in the flow. So that's what I have to say about that. Gina said better late than never, right? Because Glenda said, "I'll be 65 in March and just woke up." And you know what, Glenda, I'm proud of you. Lori said, "I'm 64, maybe a little late." Nope, it's never too late. It's never too late. And the next bullet point from my list, I was a teacher for 20 years, so I have bullet points for everything. Letting go of results. So sometimes we get super attached to the outcome of something. Now, I can tell you that I'm working on something right now that has an outcome that I am, I want the outcome to be a certain way of this project I'm working on, right? And I have told the universe, God, spirit, I surrender the outcome to you. If I am meant to have this result, then I will have it. If I am not meant to have it, I accept it. I accept the result either way. Because in my journey, in my life, for whatever reason, I have no idea why this happened to me, but I've always had this faith that was innate that everything was going to just work out the way it's supposed to. Because things, most of the time, even through the trauma and the loss and things in my life, most of the time those things resulted in something better. And this is an extreme example, but it's absolutely true. When my mom died when I was 15, my life improved dramatically from her death. Because of where I was I was living in a very small town in Missouri when she died, a town of 336 people precisely at the time, and moved from there to San Francisco where my dad was living. And that one event opened up a new world to me and formed a lot of my feelings about different types of people from different cultures and different lifestyles. It expanded my horizons, and gave me opportunities to go to college that I wouldn't have had if my mother would have lived. It gave me opportunities to meet lifelong friends that I would have never met. It gave me opportunities to do things and see things I never, ever would have done. If my mother would not have died, I would have been stuck in that small town in Missouri for my entire life and would never have gotten to go to college, would probably have 6 or 8 kids. I would have been miserable. It was not the life I was meant to have. It just wasn't. I would probably never have become a medium. I would never have gotten my college degrees. I would not have the family I have. So I surrendered to the universe or God or the collective consciousness decades ago. And I just trust whatever's supposed to happen is going to happen. And I tell my clients this when we have, guidance readings. If I need to get a job, I need to get a job. Yes, of course, that's very important, obviously. But if you're applying for 10,000 jobs in one type of industry and you're not getting them, that's the universe saying, maybe apply for a job in a different industry. Maybe do something different. Maybe expand your horizons. So we have to release our attachment to the results we want, because the result we want isn't always the result that's meant for us. I hope. Lori Moore. I don't know if I believe it's predestined because we have free will. And I could have made very different choices with my life, very different choices. I still could have had 6 or 8 kids and ended up living back in Missouri in a small town. I could have gone back there the day I turned 18. Like, I could have done all of those things, but I didn't choose that. So no, I don't think it's predestined. I think we do have a lot of choices. I think certain things we are meant to do, but we don't always choose to do them. I mean, that's a whole other can of worms, right? That's a lot of other stuff. And predestiny, I don't know. I guess it just sounds very religious to me. And I grew up Catholic and we didn't have predestination. If we did, I never learned about it there. So no, I don't think anything's set in stone. Plus I believe in the multiverse theory and physics. So we should just have a physics and mediumship live stream. I've been meaning to do that actually. The ego, the next point is the ego equates identity with achievements. So we've talked about this in the book club before. When people who are like famous movie stars or athletes or rock stars or singers or whatever, they get so famous and then something happens, either like a famous actress ages out of acting and doesn't get jobs anymore, or a famous actress for some reason gets a disease and gains a bunch of weight and she can't get a job anymore because they had an expectation of her to be this way. Or a famous actor who has an addiction problem and loses his job and nobody will hire him anymore, and then he overdoses. Because sometimes these people identify with, I am a famous actor or actress. I am a skinny famous actor or actress. I'm a beautiful famous actor or actress. This is my whole being. And when that's taken away, what's left? What is there? What is under that persona? Is there something else in there? So we have to understand your achievements aren't who you are. And I've said this before. I am so grateful for being a full-time medium and still working part-time in science. I am so grateful. And I love being a medium. It has changed everything about my life. Every single thing about my life is different. I mean, for the most part. my outlook, I guess is what I'm saying, since I became a medium. I'm happier. I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life. Personally happy. But I am aware that that could go away. The economy could completely crumble, and I would lose clients. Like right now, it's like clients aren't booking the way they used to book. They're just not. And I find this with a lot of my mediumship friends. They're all struggling because small businesses get hit hard during economic upheaval. And so I understand that there is a possibility that I may have to go super part-time with my mediumship and really go more full-time with my science stuff. I'm aware of that. I'm aware I might become a bag packer at a grocery store if things get real weird out there, right? Like I'm aware that anything can disappear. So we have to understand that. We also have to have acceptance, enjoyment, and enthusiasm. These are states of conscious doing. If you cannot be in at least one of these states, you're out of alignment with your inner purpose. So we all have an inner purpose to awaken. Part of awakening is accepting what is. That does not mean accepting abuse. That does not mean accepting someone mistreating you. That does not mean accepting staying in a terrible relationship or at a terrible job. If you can get out of the job and relationship safely, do it. What it means is accept the situation as it is and act accordingly. So I'm not telling people just accept whatever happens. No, accept the situation. Don't fight the situation and try to make the other person do something different. You can't make another person do something different. You have to accept who they are and you act accordingly for what's best for you. That's a very small abbreviated version of a fuller story. Enjoyment, we should enjoy life. And I tell my mediumship clients this all the time. Sometimes when I do a reading, my mediumship clients are like, I am afraid to be happy. I'm afraid they will not want me to be happy. If I'm happy and they're not here with me, I can't enjoy it. But the opposite is really true. I get in my readings all the time from loved ones in spirit, find the joy in life now. You're here on earth. There are things you can enjoy. And I use this example. I live in a very humid part of the world. I live in Florida. And almost every day there are drops of dew on the grass. And almost every day I can see the sunlight when it's not cloudy coming through the drops of dew. I get so much enjoyment out of that. I just get so much pleasure seeing that dewdrop on that blade of grass. And sometimes there's millions of them. It's on every blade of grass. And it's beautiful. It's like sparkly dewdrops across my lawn in the back. I enjoy that. That to me brings me joy. So you don't have to go buy a Lamborghini or go on a yacht to have joy. There is joy to be had in nature. There's joy to be had putting your feet in the dirt. There's joy to be had to hug a tree, right? Like there is joy to be had, and our loved ones in spirit want us to have joy. They want us to be joyful. Okay, next. When you can't change a situation, acceptance creates peace and stops egoic resistance. So just what I was saying a moment ago, accept the situation as it is, act accordingly to make choices for yourself, but realize you can't change what the other people are doing. You cannot change what other people are doing. You can hope they change. You can wish they change. You can ask them to maybe do something differently, but if they don't, they don't. And you have to do what's best for you. So not resisting. In the book, he says, what you resist persists. So the more we push up against something and try not to accept it, the worse it's going to be. That's why in our political problems we've had over the past several years, there was a big push, the resistance, which, it's great to get people together to work towards a common goal. But the resistance made it persist. And as we can see now in the political arena, it's persisting and getting worse every day. The more you're pushing against it. So you have to shift that and not resist per se. You need to go around another direction and go at it a little more strategically. That's another story for another day. Acceptance creates peace and stops egoic resistance. So, the ego's goals are fueled by fear or desire, creating stress. So anytime somebody's angry or fearful, they're or like complaining and gossiping, all of that comes from the ego. And we really need our purpose to be more aligned with presence, being present, and that dissolves tension. So let's give an example of what that is. When you're in an argument with somebody and they become emotionally dysregulated, if you also join in on the emotional dysregulation, you're arguing, the tensions are getting high, words are being said that aren't so nice, and you did this and you did that, and what about this, and right? You can get out of control really fast. But if you stay present and calm and don't allow yourself to react, you could become aligned with the present moment and the tension should dissolve. Now, if you are in this argument, let's say, with someone who is very dysfunctional, they may continue to get riled up. They may continue to get more dysregulated the calmer you are. Now, there is a narcissistic calming trick where the narcissist will get you riled up, and then as soon as you're riled up, they're calm. They're very calm. And he talks about something similar to that in this book. It's they got their ego and pain body got fueled by your outburst. They riled you up. You fueled them by getting riled up, and all of a sudden they're calm. And so that's a very dysfunctional dynamic. So you don't want to pour fuel on the fire of the argument if you are actually the one getting yelled at initially and you remain calm and present. It should, with a normal person, it should lower the heat on the conversation, right? But that other thing is a whole other story. So stay calm and just speak calmly, and you don't have to engage, and just ask the person, you know what, tensions are a little high. Can we talk about this later? Can we take a break and talk about it later? So, because the pain body, which is one of the main points of this book, gets so worked up. It needs that fuel. So it needs you to get mad so it can stay mad, right? And we need to not engage in that. We need to dissolve the ego as much as we can, of course. That's the whole point of the book. But we also need to find a healthier way to express what's happening instead of fire, fire, fire. Let's see. Glenda said, the more I move along my journey, the more I feel disconnected with the people I've known for years. Let me tell you, girl, 100%, 1,000,000%. This is the quote of the day. This is the quote of the day. It's going to make me cry because it's exactly what happens. That's exactly what happens. You can't imagine how many people over the last couple of months I've had that conversation with, that same thing is happening to them. When we become more awakened, spiritual journey's not, oh, we're all wonderful and happy and everybody's got a guitar around the fire and whatever, no. A spiritual journey is painful because we're sitting with our pain. We're really thinking deeply, taking a self-inventory of what was my part in all of my interactions with people I love. What could I do differently? How could I approach that differently? What mistakes did I make? When I was in pain and I caused harm, what could I have done differently and how can I make up for that or apologize or change my behavior? And then you also say, okay, so I am not going to let someone else mistreat me anymore. And that is also very painful because sometimes we realize we've been in relationships with family members, friends, partners, spouses for years, decades, who have been chipping away at our soul, and we didn't even realize it. And we didn't even realize it. And then we have to say, what it wasn't in me that allowed that. And then we're like, oh my God, I came from a system in my childhood of abuse and trauma. And so when I had a friendship or a relationship of a romantic partner, I allowed that behavior to continue. And then you're mad at yourself. And then you put up your boundaries and then people fall away because I have a loved one who's putting boundaries up to her mother right now. And her mother said, and I'm going to use a fake name. I'm going to say Sally. Her mother said, I wish the old Sally was back. And she said, well, the old Sally's not coming back. The old Sally's gone. The new Sally has boundaries and isn't going to let you treat me that way and isn't going to let you manipulate me. And it's so hard. It is so hard. So when we grow and start expecting better for ourselves and doing better for ourselves, we don't allow people to treat us poorly, disrespectfully, etc. And those people fall away. And it is so painful. It is so painful because you love those people and you grieve those people, the relationship. And then another cherry on top is you realize I wasn't like Sally and her mother. I didn't really want that mother. I wanted my imaginary mother to love me. That's just the mother I had. And so I wanted that mother to love me in a certain way. and she didn't. And now you have to realize, wait a minute, Sally's mom never fully, truly loved her properly. And so then you have to mourn the fact that, oh, even if Sally's mom does start respecting her boundaries, she still has to mourn her 40 years of life, or 50 or 60 or whatever, that her mother loved her conditionally, manipulatively, etc., etc. And so that is also very hard because, you hear the saying, people fall in love with the idea of love. It's that we love people with the idea of what the relationship is supposed to be, whether it's your mother, your partner, your best friend, whatever it is. But it's never really, through this process we realize, oof, man, I allowed a lot of crap to be dumped on me. I allowed a lot of neglect in this relationship. I put up with not getting my needs met. And it is hard to accept that you did not have enough strength in the moment to get what you deserved out of every relationship in your life. But you go back to your childhood, you go back to your parents' childhood or whoever raised you, you go back and back and back, and you see it's a pattern over generations. And that's why we're here right now, to break that pattern, to build a community, to lift each other up. Even if right now there's 6 people watching this, I don't care. If I can get 6 people to feel better for 5 minutes, that is all I want. Feel better, do a little bit at a time. You can't do it all in one day. You shouldn't do it all in one day. It can break your brain if you do it all in one day. Do it steadily and a little at a time. When I was talking to Sally, the made up name, she was like, I got to put up boundaries with my mother, blah, blah, blah. And I said, Sally, you have to do a little at a time because you spend a lot of time with your mother. Pick one thing to start with. You can't put up all the boundaries all of a sudden in her specific situation. Pick one thing, put up a small boundary. I said, because when you put up a small boundary with this person, because I know these people, she is going to lose her mind. And guess what happened? She put a very small boundary up and her mother lost her mind. And they didn't talk for over a month. And it was a disaster from one small boundary. So that shows what the other stuff, what's going to happen when she puts up a big boundary. It's going to be a bigger nightmare. So anyway, Glenda said, I spend a lot more time on my own. Same. Alone time is my favorite. But somebody asked me that, don't you get bored? I go, I'm never bored. I have a billion things a day to do. I wish I was bored. I am never bored. I'm never, ever bored, ever. Sometimes I have to force myself to rest because I do a lot of different projects and have other jobs, and I have to force myself to rest, which is boredom for me, but I'm not bored. Lori said, byproduct of awakening. Absolutely. Absolutely. Gina had to let go of toxic friends. Yep. It's been a hard process. It is 100%, Lori. Hi, Debbie. Heart, heart, heart emoji. Lori, 64 years to figure that out. It's hard. Awakening is not for the weak. But like I've said before, once you start to awaken, it's like seeing an alien in your living room. Once you see an alien in your living room, you never won't know the alien exists. Once you start to awaken, you can't unawaken. You can return to old patterns, but it's never going to feel right. You'll always know that awakening happened, and you'll feel compelled to go towards that awakening if you have some semblance of a normal psychology, right? If you have a very severe addiction, that's a different story. If you have very severe depression or PTSD, that's a different story. Carol loves her alone home. Yep. Then you realize the world is aliens. Amen. On that note, I will be live again in 15 minutes, pulling cards and chit-chatting. There's a lot of bizarre news that came out the past few days. I want to talk about that. It'll be a separate stream still on my channel. If you're on Facebook, join me on YouTube. Please join me on YouTube if you're on Facebook. I appreciate that. And I've enjoyed this. One more chapter. Maybe it'll be next Saturday. I'm not 100% sure yet. It'll either be Friday or Saturday. So I'll see you guys all in a few minutes for, regular live stream. Thank you guys. Keep awakening. Mwah. See you in a little bit.